Tell us about your involvement with Cirith Ungol. Now, there was just something in the news recently where you guys made an announcement that 2024 is going to be your last year of touring or existence, or what's the story? And I think you have an album coming out, or
right.
Bring us up to date on Cirith Ungol.
Right. So the band had quit in 92 and or 91, I think. Well, they weren't a band for 25 years. The guys basically sold their equipment and said, fuck the rock and roll industry. They'd been a band since they started in 71.
Yeah.
And basically that whole time, lived through the 70s and 80s and like were putting out records, but never got to tour. Like, just disenfranchised with being from Southern California, playing the Sunset Strip game, but not ever going glam. And, but look, it's just a thing that nobody does. Again, this is a totally long story that I'm going to try and make short, but they were just disenfranchised with everything. And it's a band that everybody wanted to see. There was a whole new generation of fans when the internet was out, and it took me a lot of convincing. But basically the band reunited in 2016. And yes, we have a new record coming out next week. We're doing a live album and concert film at the Roxy. They haven't played the Roxy since 1983. There's a famous bootleg from that show that we're basically recreating. But yeah, here's that.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
Since this is a video podcast, I'm here at our headquarters right now.
I might even have that flyer.
Yeah, at HQ. So I'll bring you into, this is the Cirith Ungol rehearsal room here.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's Tim Baker right there, the voice.
Yeah.
Hey, Tim.
Legend.
Yes.
There you go. So, yeah. But, yeah, and here's the Wall of Fame here. And basically, I mean, look, if you kind of look at it, I mean, like, here's some old newspaper articles, like these guys just getting. So this newspaper is from September 23rd, 1978. And it says, heavy metal band is still only 10. It's basically talking about how they're not getting any traction and nobody's picking up on what they're doing. And there's no scene here, And this one here, look at this one from, where are we at here? This is from the early 90s. And it says, legions of European metal fans cheer the sonic assault of Cirith Ungol, but where's the hometown crowd?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Cirith Ungol doesn't have to pose to be rock stars. They're the real thing. It's like, so, but then look, we reunite, they get a proclamation and the key to the city here, like things happen, so you gotta, my people ask me a lot of times, like, what's the secret to longevity? And my answer is longevity is the secret. Just stick around long enough. I mean, look at Watchtower's playing again. You guys playing in Europe. Like, come on.
Never break. I've always said never break up the band. Even if you're sitting on your ass for 20 years, never break up the band. The phone's going to ring, sometime, somewhere. We recently had, I have to get this in, we recently had Brian Slagle on the show.
Sure. Good buddy.
And he goes off, I'm sure, and he goes off on Cirith Ungol, and he talks about exactly what you've been talking about, how he goes to some festivals over in Europe, and there's kids running around Cirith Ungol swag on everywhere, and he's like, wait a minute, something's going on here, because he knows that back in the day, Ventura doesn't really have a scene. And we're talking about when Brian worked at Oz, the little record store, and he talked about how Ventura was a sleepy little like surf town or something where he went at Christmas and Thanksgiving to visit his grandma or some shit. And he's like, there's a fucking metal band from Ventura. That's Grammy's house, or whatever. And I just thought it was fucking awesome how the way you talk about it and where you guys are and where you're from, this kind of like, this tree has roots and it's growing fruit.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's talk about the DIY thing in 1981, Cirith Ungol, that Frost and Fire album, they released that on their own because they couldn't get any attention from labels. They were way ahead of their time on that. Metal bands were not putting out their own records. And it wasn't a 7-inch. It was a freaking beautiful 12-inch that had Michael Whalen cover art, and it's become iconic.
Yes.
But like when I was growing up, you would find that in the dollar bin at thrift stores around here. Now those pressings go for $1,000 on eBay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, you stay in the game. But the short answer of the retirement is, it's been a good road. When the band reunited, we thought maybe there'd be one performance. It's been 8 years. It's been 2 new studio albums. It's been it's going to be 2 live albums now, another single, and 35 plus shows all over the world. But we're gearing up for a big year. We're going to do 30 shows probably next year, worldwide, Australia, Japan, Europe, South America, all over the States, Canada. And I mean, look, nobody's getting any younger, and the band's playing at a high level, and it's good to go out on top.